Well, welcome back, everybody. Got something different. Got something different from this video, more of a modern tactical type knife to look at. This is the CJRB Lago, L-A-G-O. Very flicky knife. You know, easy open. Got the button lock back here. Flies open and closed. Got the pocket clip that can be on this side or this side. With a believe that's a micarta handle. But this knife I got several years ago at Smoky Mountain Knife Works, and I checked their website a while back, and they didn't have any. Now, CJRB made this knife in, like, I think 4 different variations, if you will, between different handle material and either the polished blade or a blued, you know, a coated blade. I remember this knife being in the $50 to $60 range. I could be off, but I think that's about what I paid for it. A very comfortable, you know, knife to carry, even like for the size, because the thin profile, even though it's as wide and as long as it is, I carried this. I had a lanyard on it. I would make these little lanyards a couple of inches long, with a bead or a dice or whatever. But I would carry this knife in my back pocket, and you know, it was easy in, easy out. You know, if I was doing something and really only had one hand available to pull a knife out to use, I could pull it out, open it, do what I had to do, close it, stick it back in my pocket. So, I mean, y'all know me or have probably figured by now, I'm a very traditional pocket knife guy for sure, and I am. That would be correct, but I do have a handful of these modern folders as well, and they're fun. The steel that they used on these is a AR-RPM 9 steel, and it's supposedly like a variation, if you will, of D2. You know, supposedly they took D2 and made some improvements to it. Exactly what those are, I'm not sure. Basically, just made longer lasting and made it a little more corrosion proof. So, but I mean, and obviously, as you can see, I've never had a problem with corrosion. I mean, it needs to be, you know, cleaned up a little bit, and could benefit from a little bit of oil. But at the same time, like, I've never taken this apart and oiled any of the insides or any of that, and it's still, you know, just as quick and you know, twitchy as it was the day I got it. I said earlier that these are micarta handles. That's wrong. These are G10. They used to, and I said this knife came in a couple of different, you know, variations, if you will, you know, with you know, the tan scales, and then like a darker, more like a dark gray or a black scale. But they pretty much, but they're all the handles used on this series of knife are G10 material. So, and again, you know, the button lock. Now, this little red ring around the access point, around the pin there, for a while, I thought that the ones that you got at Smoky Mountain Knife Works were the only ones that had this red ring around it, because you could go online to the CJRB website back then and buy this knife, but that little collar there wasn't red, it was black. Well, again, like I said, I pulled up the CJRB website yesterday and looked at these to see if they were still available, because they did not have them on the Smoky Mountain website, and the ones that you can buy directly from CJRB have this red collar on them. So, you know, maybe they're all produced like that now. But yeah, a really fun knife, very sharp knife, easy to sharpen. You know, that, you got a pretty flat, you know, spine back here that you can clamp onto, depending on what, you know, if you use a sharpening system that holds the blade like I do, and then a real wide, you know, thin blade that that you can just put a like I've mentioned before in other knives, just a mirrored, polished razor edge on it. So yeah, great knife. I'm glad I got it. Had it for a couple of years, still carry it. Like I said, a good little back pocket, you know, carry a knife. Tough. You know, I've dropped it a couple of times and you can't even really tell. You know, maybe right there. But we've never had a problem with this handle material cracking or chipping or anything like that. And I've even started wearing some of the black off of the clip there. I've never changed the clip from side to side, but you could. You know, there's 2 screws right in there. Just take those screws out, put it on the other side if you want to, you know, for whatever reason, if you want it on the other side. But there you go, the CJRB Lago. Even when this was a more readily available knife from Smoky Mountain, I guess, they couldn't keep them in stock. They would get a shipment of them, and within a week or so, they were gone. And like I said, it's quite possible this is a knife that they just don't even carry anymore. But thanks for joining along. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time.